It's like you're training to kill, and I don't know if that was what I struggled with. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see in the title, I will be talking about my British Army basic training experience. What I hope to do in this video is to just give you an highlight of what I went through from start to finish. This is mainly for those who are currently looking to join, and for those who are actually entering basic training very soon. This will just give you an idea of what to expect and some of the challenges to look out for. Obviously, everybody's different, but I'll share how I navigate through those challenges. It's also for people who are just generally interested in what goes on in Army training. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. So what was my experience like? So September 9th, 2013 was a day that I'll never forget, because that was the day that my whole life changed. Like, everything that I am today is because of that specific moment when I first entered basic training, Purbright to be exact. Yeah, that was a day that defined my whole life, because I went in not knowing what to expect, which is why I always say that it's very good for potential soldiers to actually know what to expect, like to get these insights from family members or friends, or to research. Because if you don't know what the army is about, or the whole purpose of what they do, why they do what they do, then you're going to be miserable. You're going to have a very difficult time because of that whole experience, because of not knowing. And of course, for me, I came from a Jamaican background, and the culture is different, everything is different. So it made my whole experience harder, because I did not understand why they were doing were doing it. So I took everything personal. So September 9, 2013, I was dropped off by friends. Usually everybody gets dropped off by their relatives, but I didn't have any relatives here at the time. I was dropped off by my friends, where I was living in London, excited, looking forward to what was to come, not knowing that this would be the worst experience of my whole existence, because I would say it's hands down one of the worst things I had to go through. Mark you, it's also one of the most transformative things that I went through, but it was really hard. I've never had to challenge myself. I've never been so challenged before prior to joining the British Army. So showed up at basic training, and the first thing we had to do is to say bye to our family or friends, and then we had to attend a seminar. And what this seminar was about was basically to tell you, to welcome you to basic training, and for you to also sign your life over to the army. Yes, we had to do that. So yeah, of course, this part of it was it was quite nerve-wracking, because of course I used to hear all these horror stories that you're signing, everything away, which is true, because you're literally, once you sign on those dotted line, the army pretty much owns you. So I was really nervous. I was like, do I really want to do this? Is this what I want to do? Like, am I really gonna do this? Like, where I'm, the army will own me, and everything I do has to go through them. That was the mindset that I went into it with. So they gave us a brief, and they said to us, this is your chance. Think about it. Are you sure you want to commit to the army? You can do that by signing the document, or you can choose to leave. If you choose to sign the document, that's it. You're locked in. You can't decide to leave until 4 years. So that means your earliest exit from the army is 4 years. if you sign that document. And I'm like, wow. But I knew why I came there. I mean, I didn't have a choice. I came from Jamaica. I joined the army for opportunity. I mean, they know that. I mean, as much as I've always been interested in becoming a soldier, I truly joined the British Army because of what it could bring to my life. And I knew that I could utilize this experience to bless my family, my mom, and so on. So I was like, I'm not going to walk away from this opportunity. As much as I'm nervous, I'm not going to walk away from this opportunity of a lifetime, because this can truly, being in a first world country can, and being in the army can truly transform my life. So, of course, doubtful and everything, I signed on the dotted line. Nervous. I'm like, oh my God, that's me. I'm owned by the army now. And then the next frightening thing came, where we had to do our will. And this part for me was very intimidating, because it was like they're telling you that you're doing this in the event of your death. And obviously, like, hearing that, I joined the army when I was about 22 years old. I think around that time, I joined the army. So if they're telling you that you're basically signing your life over, and then you need to do your will in the event of your death, that was really scary. So we had to sign, who do we name as our beneficiary in the event of our death, because in the army, God forbid if you died, but then the army would pay your family a lump sum. So I had to name a beneficiary, which I named my mom. I think I put my mom down as 80%, and my sisters would get 20% of that lump sum. So that was the first day that I entered basic training. Very nerve-wracking, very scary. Doing all of that. So I had a will in place, I signed my life over, and then we had to take the oath. So you're pretty much saying that you pledge to serve the Queen, Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth. At the time it was Queen Elizabeth. I had to do that oath. They directed us to do the oath. And that's it. You're in the army and you're now theirs. But yeah, so we finished that. And then you're assigned your dorms and everything. And what also I found very difficult when I first turned up to the army, I didn't see a lot of black females or males, even though we weren't mixed with males. So when you're doing the first initial seminar, we were mixed with males. But when you're assigned your dorms, the girls was at the top, the boys was at the bottom, and we were told you're not allowed to fraternize. That means you're not allowed to socialize with males. We weren't allowed to date anyone in basic training. After you left basic training, that's different. But we weren't allowed to do any of that. And if you're caught doing that, then you could be potentially, you could face punishment for that. So that was something that we were told from the get-go. But I noticed, it was the first time in my life that I felt like a minority, because there were so much white females and males, and in my troop there was only one black female, so that was just me and her, and that was quite weird. I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. I'm not used to being around white people like this. But yeah, that was what it was like. So obviously, me and that black female would have clicked, because obviously we just felt out of place in a sense. And even though, yes, I became friends with all the white females, because that's what the army is about: teamwork. It's about having your brother's back. We had to learn 6 C drills: courage, discipline, respect for others, selfless commitment. These are things that we learned in the army. So yeah, we're at the top, the males were at the bottom, and training started. Training kicked off, and trust me, nobody prepared me for what I experienced in basic training. I will arguably say that this was the worst experience of my life. I cried so many times to come home. I tell my mom, I'm coming back to Jamaica. I cannot do this. It's too hard. I think mainly it was because of the weather. I started basic training in September. And obviously, that England is going into winter at that time. So I think I struggled a lot because of that. That was one of the main reasons. Because we're out in the field and like we had to dig in. And you're told not to wear underlayer. So just in case of a bug out, and what we call a bug out is it's a step, a simulation of the program where just in case the enemy comes on, you don't want to have like warm kit under your uniform because then you can overeat, and yeah, they see that as something very dangerous. So we weren't allowed to wear underlayers. I can imagine being in a country where it's -2 degrees and you're in like thin because our uniform was so thin, and if you had like the smoke, my trousers was like the cold used to just breeze through, and for me that was a torture. Like I was like, I can't do this. And then of course the training was so rigorous, like the training was so hard. It's not for the faint of heart. So I think for me that was one of the main struggles for me in the army, where I just felt like I couldn't do this. Also, like we did like PT, they call it PT, even though in Jamaica we say PE. I think so, that's what we say, PE, but they call it PT. And what you had to do, we had to do like 3 sessions per week, and I'm telling you, like, you're talking about 2 hours worth of non-stop, like rigorous training. Like when you're doing indoors, like they're beasting you, like you're climbing rocks, you're like press-ups, push-ups. As females, it like the fact that you're a female, it doesn't matter. In the army, males and females are equal. You get the same training. They beast you as they beast the males. So even though we weren't training with the males, we got the same training as males because you're becoming a soldier. It's not a gender thing. And trust me, like the training was so tough. Like you'd be in circuits indoors and they'll be like, you're just going from station to station. I'm telling you about sit-ups, press-ups, burpees. I'm telling you about like climbing rocks. I'm telling you about jumping over. Like the things I'm telling you about, pull-ups. I'm telling you about like some like bench press. I'm telling you about some serious training. Like it was so rough. And again, nobody prepared me for what was to come. No one, I wasn't around people that knew about the army. Unlike myself, where those who I assisted in coming over to England, I would have prepped them. I would have told them everything, what to expect. I didn't know what to expect, so that made the training even worse, even harder, because I'm getting in trouble. I didn't know that if you talk back, that was like the #1 crime that the biggest crime you could do in the army. Because even if you're trying to explain yourself, you only speak when you're told to speak. So you get like beast, like they'll just shout in your face. And I couldn't handle that. I felt like belittled. I felt less than. They tell you how worthless you are. It was just horrible. It was, I would say, it was psychological abuse, but it was a part of the army. There was a purpose for it, because when you're becoming a soldier, you're basically, it's like, I don't want to say brainwash, but they're basically they're actually conditioning you to be alert. They're conditioning you to be ready for anything. And this is why I always say that if you don't have to join, there's no reason, like for myself where I wanted the opportunity, I would recommend join, because you become almost like a robot. You become almost like a robot with what the training is supposed to do, because becoming a soldier is about like being ready. always being alert. Even when we're eating, they give you like 5-10 minutes, not even 10 minutes. You get 10 minutes, so you have to join the queue, get your food, and you have to be scoffing that down. Like like it was so terrible because I'm not used to eating like that. But then you have to learn to eat fast. So that's everything is just like that. It's just the whole system of basic training is just designed to. It's like they use a. It's like you're going through a meat grinder. You're coming out as a sausage. So they're basically taking everything that you know, everything that you represent, and they're creating their own personal conditioned individual. That's how I put it. So that's how it's designed. But for me, again, because I didn't know that, I took everything personal. So if they shouted at me, I took it personal, which got me into more trouble. So those are some of the things basic training consisted of. You're training like 3 times a week, rigorous training, you're always tired. So we're talking about like hills, you're running with burgans on your back, weights. So like the burgan on your back, you had your pouch, and then sometimes you're doing it with your rifle, which is something that I think is just my opinion, so don't come for me in the comment section. I just think that soldier training was not designed for females, because those weight, you're talking about like 15 kg, and the rifle is about 5 kg, and then the pouch and everything, it was so heavy. But you had to run with this, right? Because obviously you do it like it's just you're training for combat. So you had to run with these weights, and I just thought that took a toll on my body. And I know a lot of females now, like a lot of my friends who are no longer in the army, they suffer from back pain. They suffer from everything back related. Like even their knees, like myself, was had to have surgery on my knee because of how much, the toll that the training takes on your body. So I just always thought that, oh my God, this is really was not designed for women. So we had to 1.5 mile runs. And when I'm talking about 1.5 mile, like you're literally running 1.5 mile at a certain speed, because you have to do it under 11 minutes. You have to complete that in order to pass. And that's something we did on the second day of basic training. And then you just do that gradually. It's a part of it, becomes a part of the training. So those are some of the other things, some of the things that we did. And of course, the seminars where they're teaching you regarding combat and what to do in the event of being captured. Then we had to learn how to don our respirator, just in case of, in the event of a nuclear attack, which was that was also a scary learn of that. So for me, the most devastating experience I had was when I got back squadded. So in the army, you have to learn to shoot. So you have to be able to shoot like a marksman, pretty much. Even though they have an award for marksman, but you have to be able to shoot like tight grouping. So how shooting works in basic training is that your shots need to be like together, so it needs to be this close or even tighter, like even if you can shoot one spot repeatedly, that's even better. But unfortunately, my shooting was shocking. So my shots, so it's like this. My shots would, like, if I did like 10, one would be up here, one would be here, one would be there, one would be down. Yeah. But to be able to pass your shooting in basic training, you want to do like even 5 in this area. It's self-explanatory. You pretty much want to be able to hit your target every time. So that's really the aim. You can't be firing wild like that. That's how we're trained as soldier, to be able to hit our target at the same spot or at least closer. Because obviously if someone is shooting wild, then you're gonna hurt civilians or so on. You want to know that you're aiming for your target and you're gonna get that target without missing or, shots going everywhere. So unfortunately, I was just not good at shooting. I'm not sure if it was psychological, because I didn't like the idea of why we were training to shoot, because obviously for combat and to be able to defend, and to actually, it's like you're training to kill, and I don't know if that was what I struggled with, but I wasn't a confident shooter, so I had to stay back in basic training. Basic training is supposed to be 14 weeks, and I ended up in basic training 1 year. I stayed in basic training for 1 year, and that in itself was another thing, but I eventually managed to get it together. And this is why I strongly believe that whatever you go through in life, every experience, whether good or bad, you can either fold or you can fly. Or as the saying would go, you can either become bitter or better. For me, I have become a better person through the hardships and the experience I've experienced and the things I've experienced in the army. I've become more resilient, disciplined, and I believe that everything I've learned in the army has shaped me and given me that resilience I needed to go forward. So I am truly grateful for that. So that's my experience. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you're having a good day. Until next time, Godspeed. Bye. Bye.